What's up, brothers? Mike, your mentor here. That's me, Mike King. Welcome to Mike, your mentor. This is My Life Monday, where I just share some of the things from the past week that have made a difference in my life and impacted me. If you're new to this page, basically the premise is um, a couple of things. One, I went through a lot of difficult things early on in my life and in my early 20s um, that had a huge impact on me. And looking back on my life, I asked myself the question, why could someone be born into a situation like I was born into, and go through all these things and come out on the other side, right? Be the first person in my family to graduate from college, have a family of my own, hold down a good job. Um, Not to say that I'm perfect or I have everything together, but just looking back and thinking about the opportunities that I've had and that other people I've known have had, and how we either miss those or we take advantage of them, and how that impacts where we are today. And if it wasn't for the grace of God, I wouldn't be here. And the other thing is, if it wasn't for mentors in my life, I wouldn't be where I am today, if alive. Those mentors were guys who came alongside of me. They saw something in me, and they spoke into my life. They gave me vision. They gave me hope for a better future, and what I could make out of my life. And not just guys physically, but just books that came along my way that told the stories of people and the other things that they had been through, and if they were able to overcome those things, that I could also overcome the things that I was going through as well. So it's a little bit late, just getting home from a basketball practice for these kids. So I just want to share a couple things and make this quick. Doggone it! And I left this book out in my car. But I've been reading this book, The Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. I read it before when it first came out in 2003. It's an awesome book. Basically, the premise is the main character. He lives his life and he dies thinking that he didn't have any impact in the world around him. And he goes to heaven and he meets these five specific people who take him back through his life and show him how he directly impacted their lives and made it better. So it's kind of crazy that I'm reading that book and just everything that's going on in my life, because this past week, I had a couple of things that just reaffirmed that we all play a role in other people's lives. Sometimes it's a big role, sometimes it's a little role, but we make a difference. And there's always somebody watching, right? There's always somebody that we're affecting that we're not directly aware of. And I had two things this past week that really cemented that in for me and just reminded me of that. Was one, somebody reached out to me via Facebook, and I didn't know this person, and we connected and we talked, and I asked them, I'm like, how did you find out about me? And maybe if you're a believer, this is something that makes sense to you. If you're not a believer, and when I say that you don't believe in Jesus Christ, then maybe this won't make sense to you, but that's okay. But I asked this person how they heard about me, and they said that they were praying to God, and God told them that they need to contact a person by the name of Mike King. And so they proceeded to ask God, well, how will I do that? And God told them to go on Facebook. And so they went on Facebook and they looked up the name Mike King. And obviously, I'm not the only Mike King in the world. So they asked God, like, how will I know? And God said, well, I'll show you which one. So they were scrolling through all the names, and then they came across my profile, and God, I guess, highlighted me, and they reached out. And because they reached out, some crazy things have happened. I'm not at liberty to talk about this, but it's given me the opportunity to not only affect one person's life, but possibly affect hundreds, if not thousands, of people's lives, directly and indirectly, which is pretty incredible. The second thing is someone else reached out to me maybe a little bit last week about something that they're dealing with in their lives. And a lot of times when people reach out to me, necessarily looking for, yeah, praise God, Lee. They're not necessarily looking for maybe advice. They just need a space that's not full of any judgment, um, any type of persecution, whatever that looks like, and so that they can just air the stuff that they have that inside of them that's been holding them back from breaking through in life and reaching a new level in their relationships, maybe with their wife or their kids or those people around them. Because we all carry baggage, from our lives and the things that we've been through. And if we're not able to verbally express that and talk that out on the feelings that were associated with that, man, those things weigh us down and we don't even realize it. I mean, my brother committed suicide almost 17 years ago, and I thought I had dealt with all that. And last year, God highlighted something in my life and told me that I had unforgiveness towards myself about that whole situation. And once I was able to process that and deal with that and just release that from within inside of me, man, I can't tell you how much lighter I felt, how much just how much better I felt. It's the feelings really is undescribable, I guess. I could go into a story about it, but I guess that doesn't matter at this time. So that also reminded me, I just had that reconfirmed this morning because I was talking to another brother, and if you knew our stories, you would look at us and we'd be on two probably polar extremes in life, maybe, and I would say even in a lot of our views, right? And most people would be like, well, why do you guys even talk to each other? Like, how can you guys even have a relationship? Like, he doesn't believe what you believe, and you don't believe what he believes. Well, the answer is simple. It's called honor, right? Like, even though I might not agree with everything that he believes, and he might not agree with everything that I believe, he honors me and I honor him, right? And we're able to have this relationship, and he was just telling me and reconfirming this to me, that the reason he's able to share these things with me that he doesn't share with other people, even though we don't see eye to eye, right? Which is a huge thing these days, is because he knows that I'm not going to judge him, right? For that stuff, I'm just going to listen, and then I'm going to express my opinion or provide feedback. So I guess that's the first thing, right? Is just realizing the difference that we make in other people's lives, directly or indirectly, just trying to be more conscious of that. And I speak for myself, right? Just trying to be more conscious of the effect that I have on my environment when I come into a room, in the stuff that I'm saying, even the stuff that I'm doing. So the second thing I want to share from this previous week, that's really been sticking out to me, is just this theme of perseverance, right? Because I've been through some crazy stuff in my life, with my dad being in and out of my life, my brother committing suicide, my dad dying, and me having to deal with, dealing with that wound, and like why my dad didn't want to be a part of my life, and all the stuff that comes with that, and then almost blowing up my marriage, all this crazy stuff, right, from these decisions that I make, or these things that happen to me. And right, I was able to persevere through that stuff. And I think sometimes when you go through tough times, and you come out on the other side, you hope that you don't ever have to go through anything hard again. And that you may be lucky, and that may be the case. It's not the case for me. As much as I want to think about or think that everything's going to be smooth sailing, that's just not the way life works, right? Things come up, whether they're little things, medium things, or maybe even big things. So I, man, this week has been it's been trying, right? Trying on me emotionally, and mentally, with some stuff that I've been dealing with. And what's crazy is, right, I had a brother of mine, a good friend, call me today, and he was like, hey man, I just got to tell you something. God put something on my heart. And he proceeded to tell me this backstory, and then he's like, but hey, I need to let you know that what you've been doing, the whole Mike Your Mentor thing, like, I know that you may feel like you want to quit, or you don't want to go through with that, but you need to, right? Like, that's going to make a difference more than you can even imagine in other people's lives, and it's going to lead to a lot of great things. And it's not that I wanted to quit doing these videos and encouraging other guys, right, and helping us reach that higher calling in our lives. It's just that sometimes things like when you try to do something good, like, right, evil comes against that and tries to discourage you, try in all kinds of forms and ways, and tries to get you to back off that and not see it through. And I just needed that reminder from him, right, that what I'm doing does matter and is making a difference in people's lives. And it's not going to be smooth. It's going to be a battle, and it's about the journey, and it's about um, learning all the things that God has for me through these different opportunities. So that's kind of that, and where I'm at with that. And then there's one thing else that I want to share with you guys that I thought was pretty profound. Um, I know I teach a lot about manhood and honor and respect and accountability, and accepting responsibility, all those things that we talk about on Friday nights, right? From this book right here that we go through, The Quest for Authentic Manhood by Robert Lewis. But we had a guest speaker at church this Sunday, and he said some really profound things that I just want to share with you, rattle these off really quick, that I think relate to this issue of perseverance, right? Because you'll see from this checklist these things like if you're on the wrong side of these things, it's not easy to persevere. You'll want to give up. You stack the deck against yourself. But if you're on the right side of these things, then it becomes easier to persevere. It becomes easier to see the light at the other end of the tunnel. It becomes easier to face those obstacles with courage and to know that there's greater things on the other side. So I just want to share these with you, right? So the first one is that as men, particularly, we are called to raise the bar and set new standards of living, right? Wherever we go, in whatever room that we're in, right? And that could be from little things of like participating in gossip to sticking up for people that need to be stuck up for making the right choice when we're confronted with temptation, for backing away from that and choosing, maybe it's choosing our wife over that temptation, maybe it's choosing our family over what we want to do, maybe with our money selfishly for ourselves rather than for our families. So just some examples like that. But the next thing is, right, so the question you got to ask yourself is, do you bring healing or hurt? And this is not my stuff. This belongs to the speaker that was at my church. His name is Dan Seaborn. He's an amazing speaker. These are his ideas, but they're so good. And I thought they tied in great with what I'm talking about. I wanted to share them with you. I don't want to take credit for anybody else's stuff by any means. So the second question you should ask yourself is, do you assume the best or assume the worst in any situation? Right? Like when you get news, when you hear something about somebody, do you automatically assume the worst case about that situation or about what they said? Or do you assume the best? And that is, maybe you don't have all the information. Maybe you don't have all the facts. Maybe what they say wasn't what they meant, or maybe what they said was taken out of context. We see this play out every day if you turn the news on, right? The next one is, do you bring security or create chaos to a situation, right? Are you going to breathe life into whatever situation you go into, whatever environment you go into, or are you going to be just bring drama, right, to that? Are you going to be a hater? What's that going to look like in your life? Do you come alongside of a person or do you push them away, right? And there's all kinds of different people that come into our lives, right? And there's plenty of chances, and I don't always do this perfectly, right? I don't always come alongside people and encourage them and lift them up. I have my days where I may be moody or grumpy, and I'm, for whatever reason, and I'm short with people, or I push them away, or I'm quiet, but I'm super quiet that day, right? And that could come off as something's wrong, or I'm unapproachable, or so I've been told. So I work on those type of things. Then the last one is do you, when you are coming, does the other person, do they love to see you coming, or do they wish that you were going away? Right? Do they want you to come into the area, or into the environment, or do they wish that you would stay away because of what you bring? Right? And these are questions we all have to ask ourselves, because like I said earlier, if you bring security, if you assume the best, if you bring healing, if you come alongside somebody, uh, if that person wants to see you come into the situation because of what you're going to bring, you're going to be able to persevere through whatever life brings at you. But if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you hurt, you assume the worst, you create chaos, you push people away, right? People don't, they don't like seeing you come when they know you're going to enter a room, or they know you're going to show up at an event or a party or whatever the case may be, right? You're going to have a real hard time persevering through the serious things that life throws at you. You're just stacking the deck against yourself. So I hope that you're brave enough to have a little bit of self reflection um, about what you bring to a situation and how you answer these questions, and then you can start taking steps and moving forward, right, to address each one of these. The first thing is just knowing, right, is being honest with yourself and stop lying about what you do or you don't do in regards to these questions, and then you're able to acknowledge them and then make a plan to move forward. So that's it for tonight. That's my life this past week for My Life Monday. If you found this helpful, please spread the word, share these videos with people that you know could use them, like my page. All that stuff helps. I really appreciate you guys coming alongside of me and partnering with me in this to bring freedom to other men, particularly, right? So that men in today's day and age can bring back honor to our society, bring back honor to the family, bring back honor to the community, that we can treat each other with respect, and all this stupid nonsense that we see if you turn the news on, like, right, that's because as men we've abdicated in the past our responsibility to our families, to our places of work, to our communities, to our children, and that stops right here with this guy, right? Like, I'm responsible for myself, and I'm gonna do my part to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I'm asking you, as a man, to do your part for whatever you're responsible for and whatever you have stewardship over. So I love you guys. Tomorrow, Tuesday Thoughts. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Be safe out there and have a good night.